Hey yo YouTube, Flowcat here, and today I wanted to share my thoughts on the good and the bad of Tower of Fantasy. I've been playing since the global launch of the game, and I feel like at this point, I get the gist of it. I kind of get what's going on. So I wanted to share my thoughts, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna jump into it. I've got my good bullet points and my bad bullet points over here on my screen. I'm gonna kind of go through those, and then we're gonna get into like some real talk about the game, where I'm just gonna kind of share my thoughts, and we're gonna talk about how I feel about this game after playing it for a little over a month now. All right, the good. Combat is fun, it feels responsive, and it's engaging. I like dodging. I like learning boss patterns. It's cool stuff. I like that. Character customization is fun. I also like being able to customize my character, especially in an RPG. It gives you a sense of identity in the world. Good stuff. Another big upside of the game is that it's a shared world. It has like a guild system and stuff like that. So like you can hang out with your buddies in the game and meet up in a location if you want. It's cool. I think that having social elements in games is pretty important if they're a multiplayer game. I mean, obviously, if they're a single player game, they're not going to have. Okay, yeah. The last point is that it feels like the game is pretty free to play friendly. I've been a light spender account, meaning I'm only doing like the monthly pass and the battle pass. And overall, I feel like I'm keeping up pretty well with the game. I feel like you don't really need to spend money on the game to keep up. You might just have to be more careful with your resources. As a light spender or a free to play, you can't just like pull on every character willy-nilly. You might have to like decide like, I want to build this kind of team, like a Frost team. So I'm going to focus on the Frost characters. You know, but other than that, I feel like you really don't need to spend money on the game. If anything, I feel like it's kind of a waste of money to do more than the monthly pass or like the battle pass. I would not recommend whaling on any game, but I mean, I really wouldn't recommend whaling on this game. All right, and so now that we talked about the good stuff, we're gonna talk about the bad stuff. First thing on the list, and the most important thing on the list, is optimization. This is my biggest complaint about the game entirely, is that it is not really graphically intense, and there's not like a heck of a lot going on in the game, but it's very hard on like mobile systems or even on my PC. It's rather difficult to run, which is sort of a problem for, you know, a mobile game. But some of the issues I've been having are server disconnects, random crashes, and probably the most annoying thing is like sometimes enemies will just like forget you exist. They'll run back to their spawn point and they'll regain all of their health. I've had this happen in Interstellar Exploration. I've had this happen in the Overworld. It hasn't happened in things like Bygone Phantasm, but it's just a pretty nasty bug that gets really annoying really fast. But yeah, that's probably one of my biggest complaints about the game, is that optimization is a big problem, and I hope that the developers spend some time fixing the bugs, fixing the crashes, and optimizing the game so that it's easier to run on people's devices. Another complaint I have with the game is that there's a lot of reused boss encounters. Like, we've gotten some cool end game modes where you have like your Void Rifts and your Frontier Clash, and now we have these 8-player raids with the 1.5 drop. But the thing is, it's like all the same bosses. Like, you can go fight Apophis in Frontier Clash, and then go fight Apophis in Void Rift, and then go fight Apophis for your raid. They need to create more bosses to facilitate for these different game modes. Even though there's a bunch of different game modes in the game, it feels like they're all kind of repetitive. Just doesn't really feel like there's a lot setting them apart. Like, when I do Frontier Clash, I fight a bunch of bosses. When I do Void Rift, I fight a bunch of bosses. When I do raids, I'm fighting bosses. There's not a lot of diversity within the game modes themselves. My next complaint about the game is the story. I made a video about how story is incredibly important in video games, and the story in this game is pretty bad. I don't think that it's very engaging. It rushes a lot of elements. The writing isn't very good. I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details, but I will say that the story is very skippable. That kind of sucks because, as I mentioned in my video about how story is important and how Genshin gave me the feels, if you don't have a good story, it's hard to care about the game. It's hard to care about the world, you know? And that's a big problem that I'm having with Tower of Fantasy, is that there's a lot of lore stuff that's not really explained. And overall, I just don't have any sort of like emotional connection to the world of, yeah, like Asperia, Hykros, you know, these places. And like Hykros has a sad backstory, but I just don't really care about it. And then my last bad bullet point is simply that the game has a lack of social elements. You know, we have the shared world and guild systems and stuff like that, and that was part of the positives that I put for the game. But overall, like, if you get your friends together, there's nothing to do. You can stand around and idle in the world, but that's really not all that engaging. This is actually an issue that I've been seeing in a lot of games lately. Like, even if it's an MMORPG or has a shared world, once you're in that shared world, what do? You just stand there and do nothing? Like, give us some mini games, give us more emotes, give us ways to interact with each other, like little duels or something that we can do. Make it fun to hang out with your friends on the game, and they'll spend more time in your game. Figure that. But yeah, those were all the bullet points that I had written down. And now I just kind of want to talk about the game and talk about my thoughts. So I was looking forward to the 1.5 update, and I gotta say that I'm a bit disappointed. Let me show you guys. Here is my Tower Fantasy account, right? What we got in the 1.5 update, this is the housing system. Look at that. And I hate to say it, but this is basically just like every mobile game in the world. Like, you have these different structures and they produce resources, and then you claim the resources, and then you buy stuff or craft stuff, and that's it. There's no customization or decorations that I've seen so far. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you get that over time, but it just doesn't feel that engaging. It's basically just another resource grind that gives you some stuff, but overall nothing that you really care all that much about. I don't know. Like, you have to run around and kill enemies to get the resources to upgrade your structures, to farm more resources, to get like 5 red poles a month or something like that, and then some avatar things. I don't know. I'm just kind of disappointed. Maybe I'm just spoiled with things like the teapot or like other housing systems or anything where you can decorate your home. But I kind of expected to have like a little space where I could build furnitures and like decorate my little area. And then from there I could invite my friends and we could hang out in our little home areas. But as far as I know, they all look the same. Yeah, there's really nothing to do there except run around in a loop and kill a bunch of enemies and upgrade your bases. And yeah. But we did also get a new map. So there is, look, let me show you. There's this new map, guys. So now we can go over here. It's basically the same thing as exploring everything else in Tower Fantasy. You do it once, you get your rewards, and you're done-a-reno. There's, you know, not much else to it. There are these like golden gate things that you can do on the artificial island. They don't give you summons, so I have a feeling that they like respawn or something, and you can farm them. They give you like crystal chunks for upgrading your gear and some purple dust. So, I mean, that's kind of cool, I guess. If those respawn, you could go around and farm those, and that's just running around and killing more enemies. You see, I'm kind of having this issue with Tower Fantasy where like the story is not very good, so I don't really care about like the world or the events or things that happen. Like, the characters are cool and stuff, but you know, they're just kind of cool and stuff. They don't really get my feels going, and you know, I don't really care about the world. And so the things that could redeem the game would be like the social aspects, like the end game modes, being able to team up with people and do fun challenges together. Those kind of social aspects can make a game work. But unfortunately, there's not really a lot of social elements to the game. Like, you can get together with your friends, but all you can really do is stand around. And you can do these end game modes, but they're basically all just fighting the same bosses over and over again with various different buffs and debuffs. So I guess the biggest issue that I'm having is that the game has so much potential in terms of its social elements that it could tap into, but it's kind of not right now. I did want to say, I saw on the Chinese version, they got some kind of nightclub or something that opens up at a specific time every day and you can go in for a short time and listen to some music and like dance with other players and stuff like that. Like, that's really cool. Stuff like that can breathe a lot of life into your game, especially if it's an MMORPG. Because after people are done raiding, usually they just idle. They just stand around and do nothing, kind of like I'm doing in the game right now while I record this video. So if I had like fun emotes or just little mini games we can play with our friends while we're standing around, anything, dueling, I don't care. Whatever it is, just have something fun for us to do while we're just chilling, you know? So overall, to wrap up my thoughts, I do think that the game is pretty fun, and I have been enjoying my time with it, but I just feel like there's kind of a little bit of this feeling of lacking from the game overall. Like, there's potential untapped here that I really hope the developers dig into as time goes on. I would like to see more things like that nightclub, like social elements that bring people together and give people a reason to have a shared world. And I also hope that they fix the server disconnect issues and server lag and all that stuff that's causing issues for people. I have had my teammates disconnect in the middle of matches. Luckily, you can get back in, but you know, it's just kind of stressful when you're fighting a boss and one of your teammates just disconnects from the game. It's pretty stressful. Kind of not good. But yeah, that's really all I gotta say about the game. I mean, I kind of wish I had more to say about it. Unfortunately, I feel like there's just not a lot to the game right now. I've also heard that the Chinese version of Tower of Fantasy didn't really start growing until like 2.0 and beyond. And considering we're in like 1.5, 1.0 area, I sort of can understand that. I can sort of see how like the game has some potential. It's not bad, but it's not good. And that's a really dangerous place to be. This game is in the forgettable zone. It has the chance of being forgettable. So I guess time will tell whether the developers tap into the potential of this game or let it fade into obscurity. But that's all I gotta say about the game for now. I do plan to keep playing. It has sort of like a nice grindy sort of feeling to it. And sometimes when you just want to shut your brain off and grind, you can just run around and open green boxes and destroy ore and kill stuff. And yeah, that's cool, I guess. I do have to say, I saw the recent gameplay trailer for Wuthering Waves, and I have been keeping my eye on that game for a while. I love punishing Grey Ravens, and Curl Games is a great developer. So I'm pretty excited to see Wuthering Waves coming up here, and I don't know. Pretty soon we will have 3 anime open world RPGs, and let me tell you, it is a great time to be alive. I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with Tower of Fantasy, Genshin Impact, and Wuthering Waves, but I'm gonna kind of try. I may quit one of them at some point. I may play 2 of them more than one of them. But I'm just sort of giving you guys a heads up that I plan on covering these anime open world RPG games. It's like a whole genre now. No, but seriously, that's the end of this video. I don't have anything else to say. If you like the content, drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment. I appreciate all the engagement that I got on my previous video about how Genshin Impact is memorable and has a great story and therefore gives you the feels and therefore makes you remember it for a long time. I have a Discord. The link will be in the description of the video, also in the pinned comment. And yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate ya. As always, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Peace.